we did holistic management training straight up before we started, and one of the key things that we learnt out of holistic management training was that when you make a decision, you assume you're wrong. So you try and test that decision as best you can. So we've kind of held that principle all along. So often we'll try and find a cheaper, portable way of doing it to test it before we'll go and commit, a great chunk of funds to that. I think that's probably saved us a lot of money, probably.
I think we bought a block of land that it had just the ordinary, typical farm setup, conventional, having dams in the bottom of the gullies. And we'd heard after travelling and volunteering on different farms around the world that there was this magical thing called keyline. and so we'd heard about Darren from people overseas. We're like, oh, where's this Darren guy? He sounds amazing. And they were like, he's from your country. Okay, we should know this guy. And so this is really the truth. We came home actually thinking we probably can't get him because he's worked around the world and he's really big and famous. So fingers crossed. So we actually rang Darren. We were quite nervous about whether we'd even be able to get his services. We actually thought we wouldn't be able to get him. So when he was like, yeah, I can work on your project. Oh my God, we're going to get this guy. This is great. So, and we'd heard about him in France and they talked him up. So we were really excited we could get him. And so when Darren came and spent the day here and then talked about what was our vision and what are our goals, and then we had this property that was just sort of so conventional and so so tired and had been run really hard. So the key thing was to get the water design set up for us. And then Darren mapped it all and he could see where the dams could be. And we had the vision of a farm planner is so different to us. We see a landscape, we see dams, we see grass. Darren is like, I'm sure he's Aboriginal deep down, and he just has this vision and he can see it from Google Maps as to where things should be, and he can see a vision that we can't. We've just arrived. We've been here 5 minutes when we've hired Darren. So for him to have that vision, he can see where it can be in 10 and 20 years. We're planting little trees and it's hard for you to see. Really, will they ever grow and survive? So Darren had mapped it, and then we found a government grant to help us build the dams and to do some revegetation strips. And so we use these grants effectively to help our business and to help get the design done. And then what happened then? So then we mapped it.
Yeah, so we mapped it on the cheap with a laser level and a little handheld GPS, which was great, and which we've still got that map, which is awesome. And then Darren was able to develop, where the dam should go, and then where the road should go, and then from there on we developed where the fences go and where the trees go, and then. So that just allowed us to get started. And then, prior to that, the water source on this place was a bit of a joke, really. Like, it was pretty ordinary.
And so then we mapped out with bamboo stakes, and we had the bulldozer driver came, and so you realise at that point they're just an operator of machinery. Like, they're not actually farm planners. We assume the bulldozer driver will tell you how to build a dam, which is great. I'm sure they're great at building dams, but in terms of design, it's a very different set of skills to choose a location, to choose water catchment. Darren's saying, you can catch off this hill, and you look over, like, where is the hill? There's no hill, but there is. There's movement. Yeah. And so we mapped it out for the driver. He was a wonderful bulldozer driver that he took instructions, did our crazy plan in his view, put dams very high in the landscape where he thought they would be empty for years. And he made what was on the design. He followed.
Yeah, he did what he was asked to do, which is, and it was crazy. It's just a level of understanding. When we built that first dam, he expected it would take a year to fill, and we had one really big rain event and it filled on that. So just one rain event. It's crazy. So he realised then the power of a setup like this. It's just incredible.
I think what the design has given us is we've come through a huge drought for 2 years. People are running out of water. People are running out of feed. And so we've run one dam hard, and we had, a month ago in the midst of a huge drought, we've had a full dam, a spare dam that was full of water because the design was so clever. And so we've been in a really good position in terms of water. We've never had to worry about it because, and I don't think people realise how significant, water's always an issue, but if you get it right at the beginning with a farm design, it's like, don't even worry about it. We're swimming in it, we're pumping it out, we're growing fruit trees. Like, suddenly in a desert like Australia, you have water. So I think it's really remarkable, and we don't have a high rainfall. What's our rainfall?
It's 550 mils average, but the mean rainfall is 500. So we can get really big events, but then often we can have big gaps between them. So it's just variable, constantly variable. We said early on, because I left a well-paying job to do this, that if we couldn't make a profit after 2 years, we'd shut it down. And we were really that was really, really important to us, and we made sure that we kept that goal, and so it pushed us to make sure that we hit that mark. Not achieving that was not an option, because I wasn't prepared to leave, but I wasn't prepared not to make a profit. It was, that just wasn't an option. So we really, really pushed hard, and when something didn't work, we'd change it. We'd talk to someone else. We'd, we were getting bits of advice from some people around us, which has been really, really, really valuable.
I think we researched a lot of places. Like, we went on our holidays, would be visiting pig farms around Australia to understand who's doing free range, how are they doing it well, how are they making decisions. I think we were very clear on the profit. So you're right, if things didn't work, we would change. Yeah, so we did farmers markets, and it was like rainy day, it's too hot, it's too cold, it's too much kids' sport. Like, it's just, to run a business on a farmers market for us was difficult, and grumpy wife on Saturday mornings, volunteering, not good. So we changed the model to make it more sustainable for us, and to make the business more financially sustainable, make our marriage better.
So it's just a process. Like, we started with a few sows. Now we're at 16 sows that are producing around 280 pigs a year. Our abattoir bill is close to 20,000. That doesn't really include the freight getting the pigs to there. It's a significant number. Plus, it's nearly a 7-hour return trip, so it's a long way. It just made sense to us that we should look at trying to fix that, and it's a cost that we could work on. And so we'd been thinking about it for a few years, and then we finally came up with a harebrained idea to pull it off, and we've just made it happen. So,
how hard could it be?
Yeah, exactly. It's our favourite saying. How hard can it be?
You need a great level of naivety to do these crazy projects,
and probably a mix of insanity that goes along with it. It's just I don't know. We were very passionate about it. We're very committed, and we just found our way. It's not. And the more I talk to people in business in other areas, it's just the same message. Business is tough. There's a huge chunk of small businesses that go out of business across all industries within the first 5 years. So it's just the reality of what it is. So let's just get on with it.
So I think it was the stress on the animals when they arrived after 3 hours in a trailer behind a car. They're stressed, and they arrive in an environment which is full of stressed animals, and our animals have had a low stress life, so it's very high impact for them. And then, as part of when you go to a big abattoir, we're just a number. So our animals are not a priority to them. They did a reasonable job, and they do try hard, and it's nothing against the abattoir. It's just to give an animal an end on our property, low stress, no transport, and to potentially save maybe $10,000 per year, which then becomes instant profit. It's the same for us. And it's not a simple thing. We wouldn't say to everybody, go build an abattoir. It's a great answer. It's still going to take a day of Michael's fortnight. He's still had to become a certified meat inspector. We've still had to go through licensing. It's not to say it's an easy road, but if you're faced with 300 kilometres of travel, either way to the abattoir, and paying nearly $70 per animal?
80.
For the processing of each animal, the costs are very high, the travel is high, wear and tear on the car. I'm worried about Michael driving for this huge trip. So it's just, given our location, we thought, let's create an answer and let's make a mobile abattoir. It takes out a lot of the other issues. If we go mobile, if we're inside a shipping container, it truly is mobile, then it can be a realistic solution in any location. I'm worried about Michael driving for this huge trip. So it's just, given our location, we thought, let's create an answer and let's make a mobile abattoir. It takes out a lot of the other issues. If we go mobile, if we're inside a shipping container, it truly is mobile, then it can be a realistic solution in any location.
So we'll be looking at making the plans, the food safety program, which is all of the operational procedures, the HACCP program, all the support programs that you need to run a food processing room and an abattoir, all the details, the monitoring, the information you need to record, the whole process. We're looking at selling that. And then also people can come and have a look at the facility and the design and walk through, and I can, tell them how we built it, and then they can glean what they like from that to, so they can potentially build their own unit on farm, wherever it is. So that people that are facing the same sorts of challenges as us can, access to abattoirs is becoming a significant issue across the globe, I would argue. So it's something that we need to start thinking about as producers. If we're going to do this well, then how do we do it?
And so the materials cost $65,000. So $65,000 in materials to build something is, for an abattoir, is very affordable, I think. And then there was the labour, just 1 year of our life just every waking minute for a year. So,
but it's a significant difference because a normal, a normal large-scale abattoir potentially could cost millions of dollars just in materials. So having something that's small, that's affordable, that's achievable is something that I think is of great value to the industry.
And when
Okay.
And when the Food Authority was here the other week, he said, "Are the pigs actually here ready to go through the abattoir?" And we said, "Yeah." And then he was, "Oh, they're all asleep out the back." Yes, they're here and they're asleep. They're not stressed.
They're not stressed.
It's the ultimate.
It is the ultimate end. That's as much as anything. That's what I'm really excited about. We really pride ourselves on trying to give our animals the best life that we can. So to have the best end is just the epitome of all of that. So I'm very excited about that.
So are you thinking of letting people use it? Hiring it out?
I don't think so at this point. There is a lot of time in managing all the documentation behind that and managing that. And abattoirs are really challenging businesses. They don't actually really make money. The only abattoirs that we see are sustainable have got a meat company tied to the side of them. So we'd prefer that people build their own, and because it's a pretty cheap build, it's achievable by even if a group of people build it their own and then utilise that, it's still achievable. It's quite modular. You can make it as big or as small as you like. Buy another shipping container and you can do, 4 times the amount of stuff that we do quite easily. So it's easily adjustable. So one of the biggest challenges that we have here is that the pigs consume the majority of our time. And so they're only using half the property really at this point. So the other half is not getting used to its full capacity, and then that restricts the limit of regeneration that we can do on that piece of land. One of the second challenges that we have is that we have big kangaroo numbers, especially in a drought year, because when we have a drought year, all the kangaroos that are further west in their natural environment start to move east in the search of food and water, and so then our property here, which would normally have 40 or 50 kangaroos, which is somewhat sustainable, now has 200. So we just get absolutely hammered, and then there's overgrazing, which just makes it challenging. So we'll be looking at doing some exclusion fencing so we can control the amount of kangaroos that are on the farm at any one point in time. And then we'll also be looking at some share farming operations so we can get another person to come and farm on our piece of land so that we can fully utilise the rest of our landscape and regenerate that in a good way. We have our abattoir here on farm, which they can plug into. We have a marketing base with our buyers in Dubbo and local areas that we can sell produce to. We've done a lot of work in terms of building dams and water infrastructure and fencing, so there's lots of just about ready to start. Just come and put some animals on. So
I think we just want to keep improving the property, just keep improving the land. If we don't grow the business any bigger, we stay the same size, over time we will have more ability to improve the property.
Yes.
If we're not hungry for growth, get bigger, then we just stay on at a similar size and we'll have more capacity to improve the soils, commit to planting more trees, pruning the trees we've planted, like really doing things well. Yeah. So we just need to leave it better than we started. Right?
We don't aim to get bigger every year. I'm not interested in the growth for growth's sake. I just feel it's an ego trip. I'm not excited about it, but we are excited about trying to be better at what we do every year, from a customer service point of view, from a productivity point of view, from a landscape management and regeneration point of view. It's if we can focus on being better all the time and raising the bar, we're really excited about that.